They did it! They finally dropped the redesigned M4 and M4 Pro Mac Mini this morning. Why did Apple have to wait till the busiest day of the year for me? Like, I'm on the road today. Sorry, I'm not in the normal office, but oh my god, this thing was even cooler than I initially thought. My expectations were here, and Apple surpassed them. So first thing right off the bat, there's no price hike. Still starts at just $599, even though it is standard now with 16 gigs of unified memory. That's fantastic. Because of that low price, I guess I'm willing to excuse the somewhat low starting storage of 256 gigs. That's not great, but the specs, honestly, are not really what excites me all that much. The design is fantastic. It's less than half the size of the previous generation Mac Mini. It's only like 5 inches by 5 inches. This thing is tiny. It's a little bit bigger than an Apple TV, and it still does have active cooling. There's a fan on the inside, but holy crap, not only do they have frontal I/O with USB-C ports as we thought, they actually put the headphone jack on the front. It's like years and years ago, Apple ditched the headphone jack on the iPhone, and yet here we are. They're just like proudly displaying it on the front of the Mac Mini. Like, oh yeah, to make it easier to access, right? Just to slap a headphone jack on there. So the M4 chip, I'm sure, is fast and capable, and they have a new thermal architecture. Plus, Apple being Apple, the whole thing is carbon neutral. For the first time ever, there's a Mac that is carbon neutral instead of an Apple Watch. That's a great milestone. That's a big win for the environment, but there's also something I don't think we've ever seen Apple do before with specifically the M4 Pro variant of the Mac Mini. So of course this one costs a little bit more, but not only do you have 3 Thunderbolt ports on the back, but if you spec it up to the M4 Pro chip, you're getting 3 Thunderbolt 5 chips on the back, okay? So the Thunderbolt ports from the iMac were just Thunderbolt 4. Most Macs up until this point have been Thunderbolt 4. This is, as far as I can tell, the first time Apple is actually allowing Thunderbolt 5 on the Mac, and it happens to be on a relatively affordable one, just a little over $1,000 to get 3 of these Thunderbolt 5 ports on a Mac Mini and still have some leftover USB-C ports and a frontal headphone jack. I still can't get over the fact that they put that so proudly on the front of the Mac Mini, but the design looks incredible. I can't wait to try one out. I think I have to order one, right? Like, I don't even know if I'm going to keep it, but the fact that gigabit Ethernet is standard, you can spec it up to 10 gigabit Ethernet if you want to go even faster. You still got an HDMI port on the back. You still have the more traditional power plug, but I'm sorry, I still cannot get over the fact that Thunderbolt 5 is on this little thing, which offers up to like 120 gigabits per second of data transfer speeds. It's nuts. So yeah, if you really want to spec these things out, you can fit up to 8 terabytes in this tiny, tiny little Mac, which is insane, and up to 64 gigs of memory, which in my opinion is probably way, way, way more than most people will ever need. And I should issue a correction in case you're wondering, hey, Drew, didn't you have a video up about the iMac outputting 8K at 120 hertz? Sadly, I regret to inform you all that was a mistake on Apple's end. They published display specifications that were not accurate, so unfortunately, the iMac is limited to outputting 8K at 60 hertz, which is really not all that different from what Macs could do before, so that's not actually a big deal. And I checked the display support settings for Thunderbolt 5 as well. Even though, yes, the output is very good, you can do 4K at 240 hertz or 8K at 60 hertz. Sadly, the display drivers were not as impressive as I initially thought, so there's no 8K at 120 hertz support, even if you have Thunderbolt 5, unfortunately, and that means we should all just give up on the idea that we're getting a new Studio Display or a Pro Display XDR. We still are going to have throughput limitations. If they do update them, there's a good chance that they'll still be 60 hertz, and that just makes it a hard sell for me. But this new M4 beautiful, beautiful Mac Mini, easily the best Mac of the year, is, I think, probably the most interesting Apple product to come out this year in total, and just the amount of performance you get for the money is insane. And I guess it's a little bit disappointing that the M4 Pro Mac Mini is a bit more expensive than the M2 Pro Mac Mini was. That one was like $1,100, whereas now you got to spec it up to like $1,400 to get the M4 Pro variant. But I would just encourage everybody to see if you can get by with the base model. Like, the M4 chip is still probably going to be crazy fast, and I'm so thankful to see the death of USB-A ports on the Mac Mini. That thing was ready for a redesign. It didn't get the redesign it deserved with the transition to Apple Silicon. So with all that, I hope you guys enjoy the new Mac Mini, and probably means we're getting new MacBook Pros tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. It seriously helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.